She married a beggar in front of everyone who ever doubted her. And right when the priest said, "Speak now or forever hold your peace," her whole world flipped upside down. This isn't one of those made-up fairy tales where a poor guy turns out to be a secret millionaire. This is a story about a woman named Meera, and what happened at her wedding ceremony changed the way her entire town looked at her. But here's the thing. The biggest shock wasn't for the guests. It was for her. So Meera was what you'd call the golden girl of her family. Good grades, great job at a marketing firm in the city, and honestly, she was easy on the eyes, too. Her parents had been trying to set her up for years with suitable boys, doctors, engineers, guys with family businesses. You know the type. But Meera always said no. Not because she was picky, but because she said she hadn't found that real connection yet. And in her culture, that answer wasn't good enough. Her mom would literally cry on the phone every other week. Her dad stopped talking to her for 3 months at one point. Her friends from college would send her wedding invites with little notes that said, "Your turn next." The pressure was real. A Duani Dafanai study from the Journal of Family Psychology actually found that women in collectivist cultures face nearly 40% more social pressure to marry by 30 than men do. Meera was 31, so yes, she was feeling it. Then one day she met someone, but not the way you'd think. She was walking back from a cafe near her apartment when she saw an old man yelling at a guy on the sidewalk. The guy was sitting against a wall, wearing torn jeans and a jacket that had more holes than fabric. He had a small cardboard sign that said, "We'll work for food," but he wasn't even holding it up. He was just sitting there, staring at the ground while the old man screamed at him for blocking the footpath. Most people walked right past, but Meera stopped. She asked the old man to calm down, helped the guy get up, and bought him a sandwich from the shop next door. His name was Arjun. He told her he used to have a job, used to have a place to live. But life hit him hard, lost his parents in an accident, then lost his job, then his apartment. One thing led to another, and here he was. No sob story, no asking for money, just a guy who got knocked down and hadn't figured out how to get back up yet. Something clicked for Meera. She didn't feel pity for him. She felt something weirder. Respect. Because he wasn't faking his situation. He wasn't trying to scam anyone. He was just surviving. So she started bringing him food sometimes. Then they started talking more. Then one day she asked him, "What would you do if you had a second chance?" He said he used to be good with his hands, fixing things, small carpentry work. So Meera did something crazy. She gave him 5,000 rupees from her own pocket and said, "Fix one thing for someone and get paid. Then fix another. Don't come back until you've built something." And he didn't. For 3 months, she didn't hear from him. Her friends said she got played. Her mom said she told her so. Even her neighbor said, "You can't trust these street people." But Meera kept her mouth shut and waited. Then Arjun showed up at her office one day. Clean shirt, new haircut, holding a small wooden jewelry box he'd made by hand. He said he'd started a little repair shop in a rented garage. Got 3 people working under him already. And he was making enough to eat 3 meals a day and sleep on an actual bed. He wasn't rich, not even close, but he was standing on his own 2 feet. And he said that was because one person decided to see him as a human being instead of a problem. That's when Meera knew. Not because of what he had, but because of who he was. She asked him out that same week, and he said yes. Now here's where things get messy. When she told her family she was dating Arjun, she left out the part about him being homeless when they met. She just said he runs a small workshop, he's self-made, no family of his own, kind heart. Her dad did some digging and found out the truth, and he lost his mind. A beggar? His daughter was dating a beggar. He gave her an ultimatum, end it or get out of the house. Meera packed her bags that night. Her mom showed up at her apartment 2 days later, crying, begging her to come to her senses. She said things like, "What will people say, and you're throwing your life away, and he's just using you for money." But Meera had already seen the kind of man Arjun was. He never asked her for a single rupee after that first 5,000. He never even let her pay for dinner. The guy would rather eat instant noodles for a week than take a handout. That's not a beggar. That's a man with pride. So she made a decision. She called her dad and said, "I'm marrying him. You can come or not." Her dad hung up. Her mom sent a long text about how disappointed she was. Her friends from college said she was making the biggest mistake of her life. One of them even said, "You're gonna be changing diapers and counting pennies while he drinks your money away." People love to say the worst things when they think they're protecting you. But Meera planned the wedding anyway. Small ceremony. Just a few people who actually supported her. Her childhood best friend Rhea, Arjun's 3 employees who basically saw him as a brother now, and an old aunt who never cared about what anyone thought. The rest of her family refused to come. Her dad posted a passive, aggressive status on social media that said, "Some people choose beggars over blood." Nice guy, right? The wedding was at a small temple on the edge of town. Simple. Quiet. Exactly what Meera wanted. Arjun wore a clean white kurta that he bought with his own money. Meera wore her mom's old sari that she snuck out of the house a week before. And just when the priest was about to tie the Mangal Sutra, the temple doors swung open. In walked her father, but not alone. Behind him were her mom, her uncle, 3 cousins, and about 20 other relatives who had sworn they wouldn't come. And right next to her dad was a man in a very expensive suit. Gold watch, leather shoes, the whole deal. Her dad walked straight up to the priest and said, "Stop the ceremony. My daughter is making a mistake." Meera's heart sank. She looked at Arjun, who just squeezed her hand and didn't say a word. Then her dad turned to her and said, "I brought someone you should have married from the beginning." He pointed at the guy in the suit. That man's name was Vikram. Son of a real estate guy, rich, good family name. Her dad had apparently called him the night before and offered him a huge dowry if he'd come and rescue her from this sham wedding. Vikram stepped forward and actually said, out loud in front of everyone, "Meera, you don't have to do this. I can give you a house, a car, a life. What can he give you?" And he pointed at Arjun like he was pointing at a stray dog. The room went silent. Even the priest stopped tying the knot. Everyone looked at Meera. Then they looked at Arjun. And Arjun, this guy who had been sleeping on the street less than a year ago, just smiled. He didn't get angry. He didn't shout. He just looked at Vikram and said, "She's not a prize to be won. But since you asked, here's what I can give her." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper, handed it to Meera. She opened it and her hands started shaking. It was a deed to a small house. Not a mansion, not anything fancy, but a real house with a real roof and real walls. He had bought it 2 weeks ago. In her name. With money he saved from his repair shop. He said, "I know it's not much, but it's mine, and now it's ours." Then her dad's phone rang. He looked at the screen, got pale, and answered. The whole room heard him say, "What do you mean the deal fell through?" Apparently, the real estate deal he'd been bragging about for months, the one that was supposed to make him a ton of money, had just collapsed because the buyer backed out. And guess who that buyer was? Vikram's father. Turns out Vikram's family wasn't as rich as they pretended. They'd been using other people's money to look wealthy, and the whole thing was about to crash. While her dad stood there in shock, Vikram quietly slipped out the back door. Didn't even say sorry, just left. And then something even crazier happened. One of Meera's cousins, the same cousin who had called Arjun a beggar on the family group chat, stood up and said, "Wait, I know that name. Arjun. Arjun Mehta?" Arjun nodded. The cousin said, "Dude, you're the guy who fixed my landlord's antique chair last month. He's been telling everyone about you. He said you're the best craftsman he's seen in 20 years. He's trying to invest in your shop." Arjun just shrugged and said, "Yeah, he's coming by next week to talk numbers." That's when it hit everyone. This man they'd been calling a beggar had built something real. Not with family money, not with connections, but with his own 2 hands and a second chance that one woman gave him. And now he was about to get an investor. Meanwhile, the perfect groom Vikram was running away because his money was fake. And Meera's dad, the one who had been so worried about what people would say, was standing there with nothing to say at all. The priest cleared his throat and asked, "Should I continue?" Meera looked at her dad. Her dad looked at the floor. And then, for the first time in over a year, he nodded. They finished the ceremony. No grand speech from the father, no dramatic apology, just a quiet nod. But that nod said everything. Meera's mom ran up and hugged her, crying. The relatives who had come to stop the wedding ended up staying for the food. And Arjun? He just held Meera's hand and whispered, "Told you. It's not about where you start. It's about where you're willing to go." Now here's the thing that gets me every time. None of this would have happened if Meera had listened to everyone else. Her family said no. Her friends said no. Society said no. But she trusted her own eyes instead of their opinions. And because of that, she didn't just find love. She helped a man find himself. There's actually research on this. A 2021 study from the University of California found that when people are shown genuine compassion during their lowest moments, their chances of long-term recovery from poverty or trauma go up by over 60%. Not because of money, because of belief. Someone believing in you changes your brain chemistry. It's real. So the next time someone tells you that you're crazy for choosing kindness over status or love over money, just remember Meera and Arjun, because sometimes the person everyone looks down on is the only one standing on solid ground. And sometimes the wedding everyone tried to stop becomes the one nobody ever forgets. If this story hit you right in the chest, watch this next video about another wedding that went completely off the rails. Trust me, you won't believe this one either.